Thursday afternoon chat. Your favorite artists with Jayar.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you could please put your paws together for today's guest, Duncan from the Newsboys.
Woo! Here we are.
We have had, I know how it works, Duncan. When you go on like a Monday or Tuesday and the record label gives you a list, these are the stations you got to take a call from today to be on the air in Des Moines, Iowa. They're just names on a list. And so you don't get face to face with them all the time. So you and I, we have about one a year where I am one of those names on the list. Yeah. And we have great conversations on the air, but this is a first for you and I face to face, because when I was in Nashville and all the boys were in studio, it was your wife's birthday. And so we called you on the air. So even when I was here in town, I missed you. And so this is probably about 15 years coming, this face to face.
And here we are. Here we are. 15 years later.
Yeah. So let's get in. I'm going to lead with sort of a compliment.
Okay.
But I've been around, I'm one of those Christian kids that grew up on old school Newsboys, going to a Christian skate night, roller skating, and all of a sudden Shine is on, and Not Ashamed, all those. So these great windows and eras of Newsboys. And I ran into a friend of mine. He and I used to do mornings at Justin Timberlake 50 Cent hip hop station. And we were the number one morning show in Boise, Idaho. And he's this Jewish kid. And I'm his one Christian friend.
Right.
And every time I see him, first thing he brings up is, how are the Newsboys doing?
Oh, that's awesome.
Because Take Me to Your Leader had just gone to mainstream radio for a quick window.
Yeah, it did.
And he fell in love with that song. So he's this Jewish kid that loves the Newsboys, but only knows one song.
Yeah.
And so when I ran into him the other day, he was making a joke. He's like, the Newsboys still around? I'm like, actually, yes, they are. And they're producing hit after hit for me to play on the radio.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it blew his mind because there are so many seasons of Newsboys era. And I told him, this is a good one, a really good one right now, where you guys are putting out these songs that are just not only wrecking people spiritually in a good way, but they sound great.
Yeah.
So that's just a compliment to the band that's just still going. And,
Well, I got to say too that we feel very blessed. I mean, I think when you were younger, we might have taken some stuff for granted, but I think what hopefully a little bit of maturity does, you kind of realize how special it is. And when you see all the bands around you that you grew up with, most of them aren't around anymore. And that's not to say we're better than anyone else. I'm not saying that at all, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, we're so grateful that we still get to do this to this level. We still get to do headline tours. We haven't stopped really since ever. Since we kind of started doing headline tours, we kind of haven't missed a beat in that sense. And we're just so honored, so blessed. We still get to do. I still get out on the drums every night, just stoking hard that I still get to play drums. Who gets to do that for all their life? And the thing is, I can look at someone, giving them a wave, and not that I'm anyone special, I'm not, I'm just the same as anyone else, but the fact that we can do that and make someone's day, it is an honor. It's not something, you're famous and you can do what you want to do. It's not that at all. It's this kind of really heartfelt gratitude. And you talk to any of the boys, they're in the same boat. We're just so thankful that we still get to do this.
Duncan, I was on both DC Talk Jesus Freak cruise tour.
Cruises, yeah.
And the first one was very special as a kid that grew up listening to Newsboys and DC Talk. All the DC Talk songs was like, I told Toby this. I said, I almost got emotional when I heard the boys up there playing those songs. Emotion came out of me. It surprised me. It's like snuck up on me. And so the second Jesus Freak cruise, I was like, my kids were finally there, and I'm like, you guys are gonna love this, blah blah. But you guys played as well, and I told my wife after the cruise, I said, DC Talk was not the headliner at this time. I had never seen Newsboys United with Phil and Peter on stage.
Right.
And I said, the Newsboys show was the headliner of that second and I hope Toby doesn't hear this.
Just don't
but-
tell Toby or Michael that or Kevin that. Okay, let's keep it here amongst ourselves.
Yeah,
Let's do
Well,
that.
because I had missed your guys' Tampa date of Newsboys United. It was that same feeling of when I saw DC Talk the first time on the Jesus Freak Cruise. I had that same feeling about Newsboys United, where all of these songs made me almost emotional when I'm hearing Breakfast, when I'm hearing Entertaining Angels. I always tell Phil, I'm like, that is my favorite Newsboys song.
Yeah.
And to hear those, it was an amazing show. And I'm a tough critic.
Yeah.
It took me away.
Yeah.
It was just incredible.
Well, even for me, I think I remember the first time we went into the rehearsal space, we weren't sure whether it was going to work. We only booked a certain amount of shows just in case. Yeah. You know, we thought it could and should, but we weren't sure. And I remember the first time, it was surreal because Peter being out of the band for 10 years, I think Phil had been out of the band for 12 or 13 years. So, and it's not that you don't want to hang. It's just that we're so busy doing what we were doing, kind of trying to rebrand the whole thing. And we just went to work when Michael came on board. So I hadn't really seen the guys for that amount of time, which sounds bizarre.
You didn't hang. There's no hang time.
Well, no, because Peter's in Florida and Phil was doing his own thing. We were never home at the same time. And when I'm home, I really want to spend as much time with my family as I can. I'm not a guy that comes home and goes out when I'm home. Typically, I'm a bit of a stay-at-home body when I'm home. So I remember the first day, and it's just looking across and seeing the boys, and then looking over and seeing Peter and Phil. It was surreal for me. Yeah. And then when we first clicked into Shine and Breakfast and Entertaining Angels and He Reigns, it was bizarre. I was like, oh my, I cannot believe I'm playing these songs again. Because I never thought I would. And I think for the fans, it was so great. I was doing something I never thought I'd do, but I think for the fans, they were seeing a version of the band that they never thought that they'd see again. So it was this beautiful kind of love thing that was going on, and still the Greatness of Our God tour that we're going out in the fall here, it's going to be more of that, where it's just this beautiful symmetry between old school, new school, and it just works.
Oh, it does.
When you see the six of us on stage, it's not a competition. It's like, 1 + 1 = 3. Yeah. It's like these two versions of the Newsboys coming together. Yeah. And you were mentioning earlier DC Talk. I was a massive DC Talk when I was, when they were first started to hit. So I know exactly what you're talking about, getting emotional when you're seeing that. And I've seen the same thing with Newsboys. People maybe a little older coming up and say, almost weeping, saying, guys, you have no idea what that version of the band has meant to me. They may not have necessarily connected with 2.0, but 1.0 was their jam.
Right.
That was the memories that were made. So we went, we've done a couple of tours with United now, and it's just been amazing. So I can't wait to get out there this fall and do it again. And I know that a lot of people that haven't seen it, maybe even that have seen it, will want to come and see it again, because it's probably, we don't know what's in the future, but it'll probably be a season. Yeah. And then after that season's kind of run its course, which I think it will naturally, there again, I don't know exactly what the future holds. I think we'll be going on and maybe not doing as much United stuff in the future, but then we might. Who knows?
Right. Yeah, there was a moment where Michael and Peter were singing a vocal together with their arm around each other, and nowhere in my mind did I think,
ever,
that's Michael from DC Talk.
Ever that you thought that would ever happen.
It just felt like this is Newsboys.
Yeah. That's the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people say that to say, well, it's Newsboys. It's these kind of two different versions, but Peter and Michael actually sound great together. And that was what we weren't sure of too. Is like, are these different voices, they're going to clash, they're going to work? And then we kind of got in the studio and was just like, oh my gosh, this is just magic. Yeah. Because Peter kind of has a higher voice. He can go quite high, where Michael he's more of a baritone. He's got more of that kind of beautiful tone to his voice. Yeah. So together, and then you get Jody Davis, who's the guitarist, great singer, great backup singer. Phil Joel, probably one of the best. I mean, he can go high. Yeah. Get Phil and Peter and Michael and Jody together, and it just works.
Yeah. This is for Duncan, for you and I. I used to do a show here in Nashville, and And I was with my producer down at 5 Points Starbucks having coffee.
Yeah.
You and your daughter came and sat right next to us. You were scheduled to be on our show a week later. And naturally, I grew up with a poster of you on my bedroom wall, with the boys, so I knew you right away. But, we didn't say anything to you. But my producer, Shimmy's like, hey, that's Duncan. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's Duncan. And you sat just having coffee with your daughter, or just sitting with your daughter and everything. But it's that area where you live that people are so used to bands living here. My mom flew into Nashville one time and we went to that 5 Point Starbucks, and all of a sudden Peter Furler, he's behind us in line.
Just
hey,
cruises
Peter,
in.
I'm like, yeah, Mom, this is the way it happens.
Yeah, that's just every day for me.
Yeah.
So.
But when you live in Seattle, you get the Newsboys once every 2 years.
Yeah.
But you've been at this for a long time now, but when does getting recognized get tough? When is it a struggle, perhaps?
Probably when you're trying to have family time. I'm not home that much. When you go out and then you're sitting there, you want to have this beautiful time with your family, which I covered that. That's probably the toughest, but even then, it's not really that tough. I mean, people come up, all they want to say hi and thank you for the music, and I never. It's just part and parcel of what you do, and if you don't realize that as an artist, I think you do something else because it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But there again, as you get a little bit older, a bit of perspective, I would never turn anyone away in that sense, because that might be the only moment. I know the funny story. Jeff Frankenstein, I'm not going to say who they were, but he met a famous keyboard player. And being a fan of this certain artist, keyboard player, for all his life, he went up and say, do you mind if I get a picture? And he just kind of shoved him off and kind of waved him on. Yeah. And it broke Jeff's heart at the time because he was such a massive fan. And I always remember that. I never want to be the guy that does that, and I never would. Just not who I am. But there are times you feel like it, you middle of a tour, you've only slept 3 hours that night, you're grumpy, you're missing your family, you're in the middle of nowhere, and someone comes up and wants to be all over you about something. Those are the times it's like, oh, please just leave me alone. I just want to get through the day and play the show and get on the bus. And you definitely have those moments, but I to this day have never got weird with anyone, because it's just not worth it. Yeah. And in the end, they're the people that have supported us through all the years, what we do, and they just want to have a little moment where they can tell you how the music has made them feel. So, and I get it.
I have a tattoo of a band logo on my body. Yeah. And I never want to meet the lead singer, because if he is a jerk,
well, it's going to shatter. It's going to shatter your whole impression. I know, right? I know that's.
I don't want to meet you.
Yeah.
I don't want to read about you.
Yep.
I just want the memory I've got.
You just want, exactly.
Because laser is expensive to take it off.
It is. It's doable, but it's expensive, right?
The Newsboys songs that have just been massive over the past, it almost seems like a couple of Newsboys eras, you guys were doing things that were just unique sounds, but it feels like the last 5 years, maybe right after Michael came on, it feels like some of the songs are big worship anthems, which obviously when that happens, it leads to amazing stories of life change amongst your fans, even people who don't know you. If you can think of it, what is the greatest email you've seen come across your desk the past, I'll say year, but whenever? Yeah,
well, we see them all the time. I mean, people from probably the most impactful ones are, there's a lot of people are hurting, like really hurting. And when you read the ones that get me the most is when people are contemplating ending their life and they heard a song. And that's what I love about Christian radio, is that often it's in the wee small hours of the morning that people are in the most desperate place in their lives. I don't know how many times I've heard they've turned on Christian radio, heard a song, may not even be Newsboys, maybe whatever, whomever, it'll be Chris Tomlin or Skillet. But obviously I hear the Newsboys related ones. They've heard a certain song and it's stopped them from doing something that could potentially end their life. So that for me is probably one of the most impactful. Another thing is also people that are dealing with grief. how it helps them get through that moment of grief, whether it be death of a loved one, obviously. And grief is a real thing. You know, I think it's a thing that we have to walk through when, you know, terrible things happen. But I think that, you know, they're the most impactful ones that I hear, that a certain song has really pulled someone through a moment in time where they were feeling their lowest, and that's the more worshipful ones. I mean, I think at our core, I think Newsboys has always been a pop band at our core. I love pop music. I love a 3.5 minute pop song. That's what, you know, when I first started listening to music, that's what it was for me. It was the Cars, ELO. It was all those kind of 80s pop bands that kind of got me excited about music. So, and I think that reflects in obviously through our music. As far as my part, I'm a pop guy, but I think, and they're fun. Pop music's fun, it's great. But I think what we've learned is that we can go a little deeper and have songs that really can impact someone a little deep on a bit of a deeper level. So that's what we've always kind of had. We've always had one or two kind of worship moments, because that's who we are too. I mean, I think whether you're into sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that's what you're going to sing about. A lot of people ask. We got asked the other day. We were playing Fox and Friends. We got to play that last week. Great people there. A lot of supporters at Fox, and they were just, why a Christian band? You know, why that? And it was very simple answers, because that's kind of who we are. I mean, I think as an artist, as a band, you sing what's in here. And if it's about, you know, it's about the girls and the money and the cars, well, that's what you sing about, Dave. Of course it is. But for us, we never really started out to be a Christian band, but it's just what we sang about. We sang about our faith. So I remember when we first came over, we got pigeonholed very quickly. Oh, well, you're over here. You're a Christian band. We're like, okay, that's who we are.
With funny accents.
With funny accents, and we still have funny accents.
Some of you.
But yeah, some of us. So I think, you know, it's very natural. It would be a sellout for me to sing about anything else, because that's not who I am. Yeah. So yeah, there's that.
Two quick ones to end here.
Yeah.
We were mentioning earlier about Newsboys writing some anthemic worship songs at the churches now. You know, you'd never see a church singing "Take Me to Your Leader."
No, that's probably not going to happen.
But now, there's these huge worship songs that the church. So when you and your wife and kids are in a church service, and the band decides to go with the anthemic Newsboys, is it possible at all for you to focus when it's a song that you sing every night on the road, but all of a sudden they've chosen to sing that in
That's a great question. And I think the musician part of you, it's very hard to turn off your, not criticism, that's not the right word, but I start dissecting the song and saying, well, yeah, I wouldn't have done that, or yeah, that's not right, or you know, it's so hard to turn that off. It's almost impossible to turn that off. So if I hear, you know, We Believe or He Reigns, or you know, one of those, you know, kind of anthems that were written, I tend to dissect it as it's being played. And most of the time, especially Nashville, most of the time they do a great job, because there's so many great musicians.
Which is not the norm around the country.
It's not, and I appreciate that. But when you go to any Nashville church, the musicians are going to be really, really good. And so you're never going to hear a kind of a shabby version of anyone's song. It's always going to be great. So
that's great.
Which is good.
Do people watch it all if it's We Believe? Do you people watch the congregation?
You do. Okay. You know, you do. You can't help it. You know, you just kind of tend to, you know, look around. People really liking this or not? Yeah, it's human nature, I guess.
Yeah. Duncan, the two biggest biceps in Christian music.
Oh, that's so not true. Jeremy Camp's got that for sure.
There is my question. Sure. The two biggest biceps in Christian music history, Duncan and Jeremy Camp. I thought Michael was going to be here, so I was going to ask him who would win a cage fight between Duncan and Jeremy Camp.
Oh, Jeremy, no doubt about it. No, he would totally win. Yeah. I'm a little guy, you know, he's got to be 5'10", 5'11". He's got a lot more weight to put behind a punch. So, yeah.
But being Australian.
I know. I can bite and scratch pretty good. But
I know he married a South African.
He did, that's right.
He's learning about rugby.
Yeah.
But you grew up in it.
Yeah.
Perhaps, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Jeremy would have it for sure.
He is getting
Love you, Jeremy, if you're listening.
That's great. We are ending all the interviews throughout the fall and the winter with a little something special we call tickling the ivories.
Okay.
And knowing that there are some guests we'll have come in, like Natalie Grant, that she's a vocalist. Matt Maher will come in and he is everything.
Yeah.
But then we have guys like Zach Williams that'll come in and he's guitar, but I don't have a guitar here. So there's good, there's not good. So we want to just mic you up for 30 seconds in front of our piano over there and let you just give us whatever you want to give us for 30 seconds.
On the piano.
Even if it's bad.
Okay.
Chopsticks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're secretly brilliant.
Yeah. No, I'm not. No, just so you know, I'm not. I got a little something for you.
Okay. Let's head over and mic ourselves up.
All right, here we go. We're mic'd up, tickling the ivories with Duncan of the Newsboys. Whatever. You are a drummer and possibly the most memorable drummer in the history of Christian music. But here we are in front of a piano. 30 seconds, Duncan, whatever you'd like.
30 seconds. Now, I have not played, just so you know, I've not played keyboards in 15 years. So this is the first time. So here we go. Now, this is an old, this is kind of could be a worship song, but see if you recognize it. You may not, because it goes way, way back. This one. Here we go. Yeah, anyway,
what was that?
A little bit of something. You know what it is.
It's right there. It's like I'm tasting something I've had
before. Think of 70s.
Keith Green?
Nope.
Oh.
Come on.
Yeah, that's a hymn.
Nope.
Oh. I'm way out in left field. I don't know where I'm...
70s.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it. I just don't know the name of it.
Pink Floyd.
Okay. It's like a food I've had before, and I can't.
I think it's Great Gig in the Sky. I think, isn't it?
Okay.
No one's ever heard of Pink Floyd, but there was a band called Pink Floyd back in the 70s.
You mean the laser light show guy?
Yeah, that's it.
That's good. That was Tickling the Ivories with Duncan of the Newsboys. 2020. Is there going to be new music coming? Do we know that yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Always new music. Always new music.
That's all we need to say
there.
We of course will let the audience know when it happens. Thank you for the time, sir.
All right, you got it, my friend.
Perfect.
The Thursday afternoon chat. Your favorite artists with Jayar.